Hey everybody, this is Jerry. So as promised, I have MGTOW's Freedom, aka Big John, 6'7", big guy, awesome dude. He's back, and we're gonna talk. We're gonna have a great conversation. He's gonna answer some questions. So welcome, Big John.
Hey Jerry, it's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, great to have you on. I mean, last time we talked, I learned so much from you, and knowing what happened, I'm sure we'll all learn a lot from each other and figure out what the next step is.
Yeah, when I talked to you, I was just starting to reach out to do interviews with other MGTOW creators, content creators. And shortly after that, I got hammered by YouTube and had to regroup and pull back and then take a look, do some soul searching and see what it was that I was up to and what MGTOW is up to and what the world is up to, man.
Yeah. So the first thing that some of the people who left a comment on the teaser video said was, tell us what happened. What was the process? When did you really realize your channel was in trouble? Tell us all about it.
Well, I did my my little vacation / work a vacation, and that's when YouTube they started demonetizing everything, and I knew the gig was possibly up there. And then shortly after that, I got a strike, and I let everyone know I got a strike, and they let me know you've got 3 months on that strike before it's up. And then I got a second strike, and I realized they were coming to kill me. That was the end of it. And I couldn't upload any videos, and I was just sitting around waiting, based as a content provider, waiting for one of the appeals to be won, which I knew they wouldn't be, and then and get that third strike. In the meantime, though, I was already working on a program, something I was going to talk to you a little bit about tonight, and some to men behind the scenes about. And so that's what happened now. Other people are getting strikes, and it's not just MGTOW, guys. It's anything alternative, anything that is anti-establishment. So they're coming for all of MGTOW. They got me, and I don't know why they chose me. I think they've gotten some others, haven't they?
Yeah, and I think they're just. I was looking at channels, for example, that do weapon reviews, and weapon review channels are getting demonetized. It's ridiculous. I don't know what YouTube's goal is, but they're pissing off a lot of content creators. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, it's not just MGTOW channels, not even just alternative channels, not even just conservative channels. Just any channel that doesn't fit into this leftist little box is getting demonetized.
Right. Yeah. It's not just the demonetization, Jerry. They're going to move to removing them. My other channel right now, I went from getting 75 to 90 to 100,000 plus views per day. And what they've done is they have changed the algorithms and hidden me. And so they didn't have to demonetize or remove that channel. They've effectively made me disappear. I think today I had a total of 3,000 views on a channel that has 56,000 subscribers.
Wow.
How is that possible? Well, they're hiding me. So they're going to end up implementing this. They've already talked about it. They just hired, or they're going to hire 10,000 human beings to scour YouTube and remove everyone who says anything that, as you put, doesn't fit in their little left corner box.
Wow.
They're coming for us.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you further about this. When you got terminated, did they give you a reason when they rejected your appeal to your strikes at all?
No, they just told me that which video violated it, what grounds they felt it violated their terms. And on the third one, they just said, you're terminated.
Wow.
No appeal, no reasoning. They just said, you got a third strike, you're terminated.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was it. No love letter, no nothing. The first two, I got kind of the little explanation, and then you have to electronically sign this and agree that you suck. And once you have 3 videos or more, they can look at every video you have and just remove you.
Yeah.
You can't go back. There's no ability to correct or remove. It's fairly punitive, and they're using it to their advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, from my experience, I have another channel. I have a fight commentary channel, and I had one where it was like girls fighting, and I learned lessons from it. Hey, girls fighting, you know, how do you fight better? How do you defend yourself better? And that got taken down. I got a strike, and then I appealed to YouTube. I said, look, just watch the video. You'll see I'm actually learning self-defense and martial arts lessons from these street fights. And then YouTube actually took it back, but they forced me to, what is that called? Age restricted. So I can't monetize it, but they gave it back to me. So that's why they didn't tell me why. I mean, they told me why they took it down. You know, they thought it was vulgar or whatever word they used. But when I appealed it, they took it back, and they didn't tell me why. You know, what reasoning justified them bringing the video back. But it worked in my case. That's why I'm curious what your appeal process was like.
Yeah, there was no, they didn't rescind their decision. No. Before I was receiving strikes, I was getting inside help out of Silicon Valley from people. I would upload a video, it would be demonetized, and the purpose of demonetization is their algorithms naturally remove you from the search string if you're not monetized, because YouTube doesn't make money on you. So it's a way to lightly punish someone.
Yeah.
So I would upload the same video 3 or 4 times, and I would watch, and 1, 2, or 3 out of 4 times it would be demonetized. But the one that was monetized, I would just release that publicly.
I see.
And I was playing games with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I had 2 or 3 and they were all demonetized, I would go back and I would have those. I would ask them to review them manually, and usually 2 or 3 out of the 3 would turn it over. So there's men on the inside that were manually reviewing these videos and approving them. So I was playing this backdoor game with them and then getting some intel, if you will, some recon out of Silicon Valley. There's a big fight. There's a fight there, a huge fight about feminism and left-wing politics and free speech. And it's all behind the scenes. No one gets to hear about it except that one guy who tried dealing with it in the end.
And then look what happened to him. Yeah.
Yeah, he got fired.
Mr. James Damore, but you're right. They're probably still debating it. I mean, you know, there's that little conservative clique in Silicon Valley that still hides itself. I mean, there's a lot of drama in Silicon Valley that we just don't know about.
Yeah, it's a shame. But what's what is happening is MGTOW is doing what it, I think, should be doing. If you wouldn't mind me talking about, you know, everyone goes, it's a MGTOW movement. Well, I don't know if it's MGTOW as a movement, but it's MGTOW as a philosophy.
Yeah.
Right. So movements do things like they come into existence and then they advance, they stagnate, or they regress.
Yeah.
Right. So you can advance and move forward, or you can stagnate and just go absolutely nowhere. And you can regress, and that means losing ground. So MGTOW, what does it do? You know, how is it advancing? You know, does it educate? Yes, it's educating. You know, is it recruiting? Yeah, it does. I used to say, tell any guy, right? Tell old men, young men, black, white, green, especially you yellow guys, everybody, right? You know, every fucking buddy, recruit everybody and let them know, come and check MGTOW out. Now, when you advance, you also develop a strategy. You develop an agenda for taking on the enemy. MGTOW isn't doing that because right now it's like a herd of pissed off cats. So there's no strategy. Men are just independently putting their opinion out there and moving forward, and they're educating and recruiting. But there's no strategy development. There's no bigger plan. And so if you would say we're advancing because we're going to defeat the enemy, that's the agenda, is to defeat our enemy. Since there's no strategy that's developed, MGTOW can't defeat their enemy. The best they can do is hope to avoid the enemy by not fighting with them, just basically pure avoidance. You know, so, you know, is MGTOW stagnating? Is it going nowhere? We can ask that question.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's stagnating yet. But if certain things don't happen, it's going to stagnate. One of the things that could cause stagnation would be more MGTOW channels taken off, censored, having it lampooned by mainstream media on a greater and greater level, being called extremist. All of those things could cause it to stagnate or cause men not to go to it. and not be interested in any education that it wants to provide. And then lastly, can we say, is MGTOW regressing? And so we look at different ways that we're affecting society as men talking about feminism and social issues. Are we losing ground legally, socially, or financially? So MGTOW itself, is it losing? Well, legally, yeah, they're taking away men's rights in Canada and in England, and it's starting here in America. It's starting with censorship. Once they shut your ability, Jerry, to talk, once they shut you the fuck up, people won't be able to hear you. And if they take away your channel, people can't hear the message, even if you're screaming at the top of your lungs from your studio.
Yeah.
Right. So legally, we're slowly losing ground as men and as MGTOW. Socially, right, men are doing all they can to recruit through MGTOW and educate. Look out, these are the problems with women. This is what's going on in society. And but there's a social the best way I can put it is there is a social wing, anti-MGTOW wing that's being developed by feminism. They're starting to show up on TV and talk about it, and we're like, yeah, that's great for MGTOW. They're talking about it. But what are they going to do? They're going to develop a strategy to put MGTOW down socially and make people reject it by lying about it or only talking about the negative sides of it.
Yeah.
Well, MGTOW is terrible because, women aren't going to get married and there's going to be no children. And so they make it look bad. And then financially, this is where I run to, because as MGTOW, we say, look, I'm going to go my own way. I'm going to give up the idea of marriage. I'm going to give up the idea of having a long-term girl. I'm going to give up having even a short-term girlfriend because of the risks I have in all of those areas. Marriage, there's a huge penalty when you get a divorce. And we've all talked about those reasons. Long-term relationship, you can still have it called a marriage, a common law marriage. And then short-term relationships, even for me, would be dangerous because girls can claim whatever they want when they get mad at you and leave you. They could have you arrested, claim rape. All of those things make it dangerous for me financially, legally, socially. And but we're going to lose ground there financially because they're coming after us.
Oh, do you know they actually are already? If you look at the Senate and the Congress tax plan that's very likely going to pass, there's a provision in there that takes away that individual deduction you can claim. So they're disincentivizing people to stay single because you can't claim this deduction for just being an individual, a single person that used to be able to. And that deduction is now moved to married people. So married people get that extra deduction that used to be for if you're single. So it's happening. And I was talking to people about it, and I'm like, that's going to cause a lot of people just to get married for financial reasons. It's really bad.
Right. That's one of the ways to incentivize marriage.
Yeah.
But financially, let me talk about one of the big ways they've already shown us that they're going to make you, Jerry, MGTOW man. They're going to make you start paying for women, whether you get a piece of ass, a hand in marriage. Right? It's Obamacare. Socialized medicine. Women cost more money to give medical attention to. They're fucking expensive. Right? They break a lot more. They're like owning a European sports car. Right? So they cost more, but Obamacare is written in such a way that it can't penalize a woman because of her gender. So who has to pay the difference?
The men.
Men.
Yeah.
That is one way that we are being financially penalized and being forced to pay for women whether or not we take them.
Wow.
That is just one example. What happens when they move it into and they've been doing this wage equality war? They're doing it more and more socially through the legal system, the legislative system rather.
Yeah.
So we are losing ground, even though we're going our own way. They're finding ways to tie us in, and they're coming for us.
Yeah.
So we can choose to just stay on this path of regression or stagnation, or we can advance MGTOW into a men's movement.
And I'll add this with the social aspect. a lot of women, and we've talked about this last time, but a lot of women are catching on, the smart ones, and you can call them fifth wave feminists or whatever, but they're pretending to be conservative, pretending to be traditional. Oh, fuck fourth wave feminism. You know, we want a family, we want to respect men. So a lot of women are taking this chameleon approach and this will hook a lot of men in, right? So socially, that's another way of going after men that are comfortably single. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Every man, deep down at heart, you know, if the right woman comes along with the right smile and the right blowjob and everything, you know, he might get hooked, even as MGTOW as he is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can get hooked, man. That's the trick.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it really is the trick. And what can you do about it, right? We want to avoid that as MGTOW men. But let's just, how many MGTOW men do you think there are, Jerry? I'll let you answer this question and I'll roll with it.
I'm going to say there's a lot more than people think. I think there's...
Throw a number at me, man.
I think 1 million.
That's a great number. 1 million men in the United States of America are MGTOW, right? They think like MGTOW. They even say the word MGTOW, right? But that is only, it is like less than 1% of all the men here in America.
Yeah.
So less than 1%. Women have plenty of other men to go and choose from, plenty of other white knights and simps and beta males that don't know that there's an alternative way to look at the world and an alternative choice in life. So they really don't even have to address us if we're a loose-knit band of ninjas running around, you know, hacking and chopping at this social system, this matriarchy. You know, they don't have to worry about us. We're really nobody unless we continue to educate, recruit, develop a strategy, and then come after them.
Yeah.
And going after individual women. Here's another thing. You can take one woman out, right? You can just remove her from the system, and that's not going to stop feminism. It's indoctrinated every girl that's growing up in school. Yeah. You know, they are a cohesive bunch after generations of being programmed with this man-killing social idea, right, of equality, which means special rights for them.
Yeah, and going against their own personal nature. You know, oh, I can balance workplace advancement and a family. You know, it's like all these. Honestly, I used to really not talk shit about second wave feminism, but I've been thinking about it more, and the problem really started with second wave feminism when they said, oh yeah, fuck all these traditional roles with women. Women burn their bras, go out to the workplace, you know, fuck all that, no, staying at home. You know, that's when it really started going downhill because then women went against their natures. Right? I'm not saying every woman should be a housewife, but certainly there are a lot of women that feel comfortable raising a good family. But suddenly it's like, no, you have to go out, get a job, you have to go and work your career, and you have to have kids. So second wave feminism really started this going against your nature thing. So I'm moving back now with my analysis. I used to be like, no, fuck third wave feminism. I'm like, you know, second wave feminism kind of started this industry of empowering women that just, it's kind of like the self-help industry for people in general. You sell them all these feel-good motivational things that don't work, and then they try it doesn't work, they buy more into it, and then they ask for more, and then they either blame other people for their problems or they just keep asking for more. Second wave feminism really kind of did that in.
Oh, it did. It was a big step. Every wave is done its new, let's call it a phase of damage, right? It's deeper cut. And the second wave was huge. Yeah. That was a big one.
And then third wave, of course, we all know third wave. Everyone criticizes third wave. Oh, gender politics into it, identity politics into it. And another thing, you know, being a military man, you can add into this, which is that the reason why third wave feminism, and when I mean third wave feminism, I'm talking about the feminism that started in the 90s, right? The reason it emerged was because the Cold War ended. So now there's not this constant threat of us getting destroyed. And the problem with society is when you don't have this tension, this sort of constant fear of getting destroyed, it just naturally progresses. I don't know why. It's like, so third wave feminism kind of, it was like inevitable. It's like once the Cold War ended and America emerged, it was inevitable that people just started asking for more, got more spoiled.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's feminism is very organized. It doesn't seem like it on front because we're dealing with all of their cats, all of their ground troops running every which way. And women behave according to their, how did you term that, Jerry? Their natural tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're listening to their hormones, which say, I want to have a family. So they want to have babies, and then they want to have a career as well. And then other girls will tend to be more physically active. So they'll think they're athletes, and they'll play into that. And they'll use all of these different approaches to come after men and get into our lives and involve themselves. But you can't just take out women. This feminism is very organized. It's saying on all fronts, on all aspects, women act like men, be like men, challenge men, right? But always also claim that you're a woman and that you need special privilege. And it is a comprehensive approach to emasculating men, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it is. But if I could, I wanted to ask you. I think you put out there that you had some questions from some of your listeners.
Yeah. So let me go through some of them. The first one that a lot of listeners asked was, and I'm going to just pull it up real quick. Are you going to personally, because people have been backing up your stuff, right? Are you personally going to put like a definitive channel, whether on Minds or another platform, or maybe on YouTube, of your work and like it's you? It's not other people backing your stuff, but you.
That is something I'm still wrestling with. Mm-hmm. It depends on which way I go. What I don't want to be, Jerry, is I don't want to be a dog and pony. I don't want to be a song and dance. I'm not a clown and I'm not a juggler. Mm-hmm. Okay, I came on here to, my original plan was to see if what I had to say was articulate enough, touched enough men in their minds, affected them, that they wanted to hear more, that they liked what I had to say, that I was an effective speaker on the subject matter. Mm-hmm. And I was able to prove that. And like I said, I started talking to you. I was getting some other interviews set up when I had some problems with YouTube trying to kill me. Mm-hmm. Right. At that time, I was also saying, look, I'm not going to come on here and just bash women all the time. Mm-hmm. Number one, I've proven I can do that, and I can do it and show logically how right I am, right, in bashing. These are legitimate gripes about the way individual women behave. Mm-hmm. But I kept getting these signals from men, and this is what I was looking for in the comments and in my emails, is, John, what comes next? Mm-hmm. Well, now that we've identified the problem, what do we do? Yeah. And men were asking me for it. Where do we go now? How do we do? How do we get over this? What's the next step? Yeah. Constantly, what's the next step? What's the next step? So me creating another MGTOW channel just to come on, just to get conged and beat down by YouTube doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. Because they're going to kill that. Now, if I go, I tried Minds, I tried VidMe. I think VidMe shut down.
Yeah, VidMe got shut down. They just said, oh, we don't know how to monetize this platform. We're not seeing revenue flow. So for those of you who don't know watching, VidMe is, if you have an account on there, all the videos are still on there, but you can't post new stuff anymore on VidMe because they just don't know how to monetize it as well as YouTube.
Yeah, that's a huge issue. You know, getting a platform that people can use, that they want to go to, that's popular and has a lot of their content producers there. You know, YouTube is still good for that. Mm-hmm, yeah. But am I ready to evolve my message beyond just talking about the stupid individual woman I saw today? Right. The interaction I had with my ex-wife. Mm-hmm. Do I want to talk about that? Is there a place for it? Definitely. But how are my professional skills? How is John's experience? How can it be best used by MGTOW and men in general? Right. Again, do I just want to educate and recruit? No. Can I do more than that? Can I develop a strategy? Can I actually address a plan that is designed to defeat the enemy, which is feminism itself? And so that's a question that I've been asked by other men. And some of these men are as old as me, some older, some younger. Men that are financially well off, businessmen. They're interested in taking this to the next level. Mm-hmm. The question is, how do we do it? Where do we start? Yeah. We need a business plan. We need a model set up. All of these things are being done in the background right now. The question that we have as a group, looking out at men is, will men support this?
Yeah.
Or are men going to be a herd of unruly cats? Right? Ninja cats, right? They're badass motherfuckers. They're ninjas. But one of the things that I've noticed is that there's a lot of infighting between MGTOW channels.
Oh, it's horrible.
Right? So there's infighting. Is that the result of too many insecurities? Or who knows, right? What's the problem there? It seems like some MGTOW are so extreme they're willing to attack women and men and anybody that it disagrees with any portion of their personal agenda. Mm-hmm. And it's terrible. We need to understand that other men aren't the problem. What educated those other men that are the problem? We're talking about, say, a beta male that's a simpleton. Mm-hmm. He's been indoctrinated by feminism, so he's not the problem. The problem's feminism. We need to keep looking back at who is the enemy, who is the source of the problem, and realize that's where we need to focus our attention as a group of men while we individually deal with our own lives. Yeah. So, it's the infighting has to stop. There has to be a bigger picture mentality, and that comes with maturity. Yeah. You're a very mature man. Some guys, and this is a fact, they don't sound very mature. Mm-hmm. They're just attacking everybody, and it's ridiculous. You're not helping yourself any. You're not helping the guy you're attacking. In fact, you might be doing the opposite of recruiting. You might be driving people away from MGTOW. They're like, if this is what it's about, I don't want to be a part of it. Right?
I'll tell a very quick story about that. I don't know if you watched my channel that time. I brought on this couple. They were an artistic couple. They loved my channel. And there was, it's a man married to a woman. And I just brought them on just to talk, just to get their perspective on being an artist, being married in the modern day. And every comment it attacked her look, attacked her personality, attacked everything. So she used to be kind of on my side. And now she's like, oh, I understand why people hate women now. Oh, your audience is horrible. So that was a kind of funny story. And eventually the guy felt so bad. And it's a part of it is if, a business owner finds this video with all these crazy attacks, he's going to be like, who are these guys? They're not loved. So he asked me to take the video down. So I took the video down.
Right. Yeah. It's totally, that's it. So, the infighting is bad, So what is MGTOW doing? Is it educating? Yeah. But there is infighting. That's a negative thing. Is it recruiting? Well, it is, right?
But more passive recruiting, I would call it, or passive recruiting as in these creators get more fans, and then maybe social recruiting, like very light social recruiting, like you tell your best friend who maybe have these leanings, or the guy down the hall who, you just see him, he's single and he seems pretty happy, you start telling him these things. That's, I think, the only two types of real recruiting that's going on. Like you said, there's no organization, nothing, and MGTOW have traditionally wanted to be like, no, fuck, we don't want to become MRAs, etc. So they tend to shy away from that. But yeah, there's no like real active recruiting or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Let me. Yeah. Exactly. There's a younger gentleman than me. He is an extreme intellect. I don't believe he's ever been married. He's in the IT world, and he was telling me, the younger generation really isn't into these monolithic pyramidal structures of power. Yeah. They're kind of against that, anti-establishment. But they're more like dogs chasing squirrels. They just see something and they just run off and chase it, But they don't like these monolithic pyramids. Explain to me why you were like, yeah, I get that. What's the problem with the monolithic superstructure, social organization?
Well, I'm just thinking from an information standpoint, it's better if information's scattered around, because if you have a person centrally planning, right, he's not going to know every single person's wants, every single person's interests. So the information's better if it's just scattered within a population than if it's a concentrated group of people trying to plan for everyone.
I see. Okay, now what I want to talk about is what is feminism? What is it? It's a pyramidal structure that disseminates information, and once it gets down to the ground floor, the ground level, that's where the information scatters out and it's just applied. It's a fundamental principle of we're just as good as men, but we secretly believe that we can control men and take men's money, and we get special rights and special privileges, and we do this and that. And then they just apply it, as I was saying earlier. This girl's going to apply it through her athletics. This other girl, her hormones say have babies, so she's going to apply their philosophy at the ground level in different ways. So an idea of a men's organization being monolithic, that what you're talking about, the stranglehold on information exists, but is there a place for that for MGTOW?
Mm-hmm. I see what you mean.
What's that?
I see what you mean. It's very interesting because right now information's all scattered, but is there, so not MRA, but some kind of MGTOW way of building up a little bit more structure, maybe not pyramidal, but some kind of slight hierarchy. I hate using the word hierarchy even, but something.
Oh, it sounds dirty, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds very dirty just because it's got connotations, very negative connotations.
Right. Let me throw this at you as a younger man. If I'm gonna read off 9 different things here.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me which one you can agree with and which ones you can't.
Sure.
Okay? I'm going to start with recognizes the feminism is hurting men.
Definitely agree with that.
Okay. Recognizes marriage laws are disadvantageous to men.
Definitely agree with that.
Recognize social demands on men are psychologically damaging.
Oh, absolutely.
Recognize individual exposure to feminism leads to men being victimized.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Recognize education is the first step to getting away from women's control.
That I would maybe qualify. I don't completely agree with that. I would say sometimes, and it depends on what you define as education, because this is a semantics question. Because when I think education, I'm thinking someone telling you, but a lot of times, and I think the majority of MGTOW have to use experience as the first thing to get them into this. So maybe if you mean education as people telling them, then maybe I wouldn't agree with that. Not
telling them, but just introducing them to the idea. Anyways, right? So you can see how we get into some semantics ideas here. Okay. Would you recognize that, right, MGTOW are not acting unified, so they can't do anything more than just, how do I put this? They're not going to have an effect on all of society as individuals. They can only affect those around them and those that they're talking to. Through social media is a good one, makes your voice louder. But let's assume that YouTube is no longer available to us. How are you going to fight the beast bitch? How are you going to fight feminism?
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
Now, if I said MGTOW wants to beat up, assault, and kill women.
Disagree.
Right. Okay, obviously.
Yeah.
So, if you put down all of the things that MGTOW wants, we want to avoid social and media blowback. We want to empower the individual ninja MGTOW guy. We do want to stop feminism and its encroachment into our lives politically, socially, legally, right? But we don't want to. And some MGTOW guys sound absolutely violent. It sounds like they're like, I want to punch that chick in the face, and I want to. I want to do this and I want to do that, and it's just violent. And nobody agrees with that. Yeah. Those are some radical people in a far corner, and they're crazy. But I think that 90% of what you and I just talked about, we're all in agreement. All of MGTOW are in agreement, right? That the social demands, the psychological, that marriage, all these different facets of life we pointed out are damaging. So we've got common ground as MGTOW.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to say that there's other men out there that are not MGTOW that see the same truth we have, except we remove the word MGTOW from it. And you go up to a regular man who's just been divorced, and you say to him, do you think that divorce favors women over men? And he's going to say, yeah, it does. Yeah. Right? He's going to agree with that.
Yeah.
And as soon as he understands how, and he doesn't have to be MGTOW. He can just be a regular guy off the street when you show him or talk to him about, women's equality and equal workplace pay, he's going to say, yeah, it's bullshit. Right? You don't have to be MGTOW to agree with this 90% of what we're saying here.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And remember, I made that video. I'm like, hey, look, even we have to look at the population distribution and try to just engage them. And I get a lot of blowback still on that video. People are like, oh, you want to be an MRA, or oh, yeah, this, that. Oh no, we can't talk to them. They don't understand us. But the way you laid it out, it literally is. Look, the majority of men in society would agree on most of these things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The MRA guys, they got kind of a black eye with the MGTOW guys. A lot of the MGTOW guys, that's why I call them ninjas. Right? They're either ass kickers or they want to be ass kickers.
Yeah.
Now you put your face on YouTube, and you don't have to put your face out there to be an ass kicker. But people that hide behind their mom's, they're in their mom's basement hiding behind the computer and they're just talking trash. That's not kicking ass. That's just being a dipshit, right? But if you're actually out there being a man on a daily basis and addressing these issues, then you're doing what you can. You're avoiding women. You're helping other men that are talking to you. But the MRA guys, I don't know. I don't even know what they want. I just know that it's men's rights activists.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, what do they want? Do they want divorce reform?
Yeah, they just want to go through the legal system to make the laws more equal, like how it used to be. So the reason MGTOW criticized MRA is that, oh, you want to go into the system. The system's already biased against us, so why try to change the system? Just let it fall, right? That's what a lot of MGTOWs are like. Go, don't try to support the plantation in any way. It just has to destroy itself.
Yeah, and so you think this is where I've had my soul searching.
Mm-hmm.
I am MGTOW. John has gone his own way. If anyone wants to dispute that, I invite you to find me, contact me. I will meet you, and we'll find out who's left what. I'm a MGTOW guy, right? And someone can disagree with something I say, but that doesn't make me less of a MGTOW or him more of one. It's just kind of it's one of those argumentative points that they like to make, the infighting bullshit.
Yeah.
But 90% of what MGTOW believe, in general, other men are going to agree with. Whether they're MRA or divorcees, whether they're just disenfranchised men, meaning they've never had a good relationship. They just keep getting shit on. They didn't even get far enough to get married. They're just disenfranchised. They're dissatisfied, and they know all the reasons why. And they don't have to claim that they're MGTOW, but they're going to agree with what we're saying.
Yeah. And I'll give you sorry, I'll just really interrupt really quickly. I'll give you a perfect example of this. I was explaining MGTOW, I was explaining sexual marketplace value, I was explaining all this to one of my Chinese coworkers. China has the Singles Day, which is November 11th, right? Because it's like four little empty sticks. So it's a visual holiday. And he was like, oh my God, I'm just drinking with my male friend here on Singles Day. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. That's happy. And I started explaining all this to him. And then it got through to him. This guy, Chinese upbringing, you're taught, hey, you got to get married when you get a job. You got to have a house. You got to have kids, But he agreed with me about the sexual marketplace value. And, a guy's value, if he works hard, stays humble, it always goes up no matter what. So, these things can be communicated to anyone. If anyone has a brain, you can communicate this to them.
Right. That is one of MGTOW's strongest points is they've developed an educational system, a way to explain what's going on in a way that men can easily understand and apply in their lives. That's why I said that's what they do really well. They educate, and we're using social media to get that in front of men. And then recruiting other men, because when men hear it, they recognize it as truth, and then they look more into it and they find out, oh my God, I can't believe all this other shit that's been hidden from me. I've been indoctrinated. I've been tricked.
Yeah.
Right? Like the idea that you have to grow up and then get married. Who the hell made that rule? Right? In fact, let me ask you this question right here, Jerry. When you're standing at the altar and maybe, right, and they say, everyone's witnessing this holy, and then what's the next word?
Matrimony?
Matrimony? Like matriarchy? Everyone is witnessing a matriarchy being developed.
I see where you're going.
Why isn't it a patriarchy? Why isn't it holy patriarchy?
Right.
The man is in charge.
A holy patrimony. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Okay, it's all words. It's all about words and understanding how we're being controlled. So this idea that we hate this giant, monolithic, disgusting leviathan of a pig called feminism, so we're like, we're not going to have any part of any of that monolithic stuff, that big hierarchical stuff is garbage. But that is what is coming to get us.
That's so deep, man. That is so deep. I never thought about the word matrimony, but it's true. It's got a female root.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, I talk about words. Words are so... Language is the foundation of thought.
It is.
And if you have words like this, it's like, wow, I never thought about that.
It is the basis for thought. And we use a variety of thoughts to develop our philosophy. Mm-hmm. And if they take words away from us, if they take your ability to speak and my ability to listen away from us, we're only left with what they want us to hear. So carte blanche rejection of every word we hear and then say, well, MGTOW don't listen to anything. Right? We've got to keep our ears open and listen to everything we hear and then run it through our intelligence filter, right? Matriarchy, right? Matrimony, get the fuck out of here. I don't need that. You know, that doesn't sound like a winner for me.
Yeah. Wow.
So on an individual basis, we need to think as foot soldiers, but we're being attacked by government.
Yeah.
We're being attacked by government. Government is what is literally our enemy, and it is creating laws that penalize men. They penalize them in divorce court. They penalize them when it comes to law enforcement. You know, there's social laws and social norms that favor women. All of these things come from a structure that's bigger than the individual.
Yeah.
So this idea that, well, you know, we can't form an organization to stand up to it because that's just a stupid idea. We need to learn to act individually, but think on a more collective level. Women do it just fine. The sisters back up the sisters. They do.
Yeah.
And some are more aggressive. Some are the shock troops, these literal feminazis that go out and they put that pink hat on and they scream slogans and they yell at men and call them names. You know, those are some rotten women. But that's not all of feminism. Feminism is in every single woman today now.
Yeah.
You know, and some are nice, as you've described. They pretend, they're chameleons. Some are in the waltz. They're like, oh no, not all of us are like that. You know, some probably are good out there. They're doing a great job, right? But look out if you piss one of them off, right? They'll cut your nutsack off and tack it to the wall as decoration.
Yeah. When you piss them off, that's the last straw because it proves everything about feminism right. So then they will 180 on you and become the harshest feminist. You say, "Oh man, I was wrong. I thought the feminism was wrong. But look at this. This guy pissed me off. Oh my God, feminism's right." I've seen a lot of women go through that process, and Lauren Southern and people like that are going to go through that process one day. So
they run back to the feminist plantation.
Yeah.
So if they're passing laws right now, Jerry, and they're going to have more court rulings. This is where I talked about, are we losing ground as men? Not just MGTOW, but as men. Are we losing ground legally? Yes. Socially, is our society becoming more feminized or pushed into the feminist corner? Yeah. You can't talk about women any way you want anymore. You're a sexist, you're a bigot. Now it's illegal, right? You can't catcall women. If you approach them and talk to them, right? Socially, you're not allowed to do that unless they give you some sort of nebulous permission that you're supposed to understand.
Yeah.
And if you don't approach them fast enough, they can get mad at you and socially punish you, right? And then what's the punishment? They call you gay, they call you stupid, they call you all kinds of names.
Yeah.
If I just walked down the street and started calling every woman I saw a dirty gold-digging whore who sucks dick for beer money at the Greyhound station, right? I would be in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they can call us every dirty name in the book. So the social rules are allowing more and more poor behavior on the part of women, and they're punishing men more and more. And financially, we've talked about how they're going to get equal pay. They're going to probably get more pay than us just because they're a woman. right? And they're going to find ways to make men pay for them. And this is where the legislative process, the government is being used. The more socialist a nation is, the more women can use that to their benefit. What else do women want? Housing? Why not make men pay for their housing? Subsidized utilities? What else do women need? Right?
Transportation, exactly, automobiles.
Everything. They're doing everything they can to make us all equally fucking miserable.
Yeah.
So, if we talked about what MGTOW's general agenda is, it's recognizing, it's educating, it's seeing all the problems. We all agree on 90% of that. And most men would also, even blue-pilled beta men who are married, their wife beats them with a psychological stick until they pass out every night. But inside his head, he's like, that fucking bitch, right? She's beating me, she's beating me, she's beating me. Even the blue pill beta male who's married would agree with 90% of what we say. That's powerful that there's that many men. Remember that $1 million number you gave me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 1 million MGTOW men?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is only 1 million guys that say MGTOW. But I bet you could say 50 million men would agree with 90% of what MGTOW is saying if they could hear it, if our voice was truly loud enough. If we were so big and unified that we could be, right, we couldn't be ignored, we couldn't be marginalized, we couldn't be excused away.
Yeah.
Right now, John had 24,000 MGTOW subscribers. How many do you have, Jerry?
I have 10,000.
10,000. How many does Sandman have?
Probably 100,000.
100,000, right? He's got a lot. So, but a lot of those guys are all shared. Like, I'm sure every one of my guys was subscribed to Sandman. Mm-hmm. And probably same with your guys were subscribed to Sandman, and maybe a third of them were subscribed to my channel. It's a lot of the same guys, a lot of repeats. So you can't add all of the channels and add all the guys up,
mm-hmm.
right? But there's only 1 million of us. But there's another probably 49 million men out there that agree with 90% of what we're saying. So if you could build an organization, and this is a big if, because men have to understand and be willing to stand up. You put your face on the screen. You say, I'm Jerry, I'm MGTOW, right? A lot of guys won't. They don't want to be doxxed. What are they afraid of? They're afraid of losing their job. They're afraid of offending people. They're afraid of what other people think.
Yeah. That's 90% of what it is. 10% is their financial security, etc. But a lot of it is, what if they find out that, this, that, a lot of it is afraid of judgment.
Yeah. Now, if there was an organization out there that said, you go ahead and you stay anonymous, we're going to address things on a national level. Right? We're going to deal with some landmark legal cases. We're going to deal with a political action committee. Right? We're going to legislatively address things. We're going to address the mainstream media because those other 49 million men are watching that. And we're going to make these concepts, this 90% of what MGTOW agrees on, we're going to make it palatable to all those men. While on the ground floor level, just like feminists run wild, fucking everyone up and screwing everyone over, MGTOW can be on the ground as individual ninjas, continuing to do what they do while there's a national or we'll even use the term monolithic organization out there representing them, allowing them to remain anonymous while it stops the legal, social, and financial destruction of men that is coming from the top down.
I see.
Right?
Now
that's the idea that's being considered right now.
Mm-hmm. And since we're talking about this, where do you think we are right now? Are we in the initial planning, or for you on that matter, are you in the initial planning stages with a bunch of people right now, or have you gotten somewhere? What's the progress?
The progress is putting this down on paper. What does it look like?
Mm-hmm.
What does this thing look like? And then we have to consider the demographics, right? And we just went over that. Maybe there's 50 million men who would agree with 90% of what we say, even if they're not going to say the words themselves, even if they're not going to aggressively go out there, right, and do anything. They agree with it. They just sit there and go, yep, I see that, yep, right? That's a belief system or an understanding that they have, but they're not going to run out and make videos like you, right? They're not going to put it on the line. Just like all these other anonymous MGTOW guys, they're not going to make videos. They have a lot to lose socially, personally. They're insecure. They don't want to lose their family, whatever their deal is, right? They're not going to step out from behind the blind, and they shouldn't have to, right? But if I went on television right now, and CNN had me on, they'd say, who are you? I'd say, I was MGTOW is freedom. They'd say, well, who are you? I'd say, I had 24,000 subscribers. They would say, you're an extremist. You had 24,000 people following you. They must have been freaks, right? What a bunch of wackos. You represent the smallest arm of the smallest branch of the smallest limb of the tree of stupidity. You know, they can lampoon you. What is 24,000 men? It's nothing. You represent nobody, essentially, in terms of the 350 million people who live in the United States of America. Much less the world, because they go, well, is your channel worldwide? I'd say, yeah. They go, you're kidding me. Out of 8 billion people, you had 24,000 that thought you were cool enough to push the subscribe button. Get the fuck out of here, right? So I don't represent anyone that way. Yeah. I'm not a force du jour. I'm not powerful. Yeah. Right. But if there's an organization that is anonymously supported by 1 million men, how powerful is that now, Jerry? Yeah. And we all agree on 90% of what we're talking about, right? That we recognize feminism hurts men, that we recognize the social demands on men are psychologically damaging to them, right? That we recognize marriage laws are disadvantageous to men, that we recognize that what has been done to these men is also affecting their children, and it's raising an even more radicalized group of feminized women and emasculated men. So every generation that's exposed to this trash, it's getting worse, right? So, you know, if there's 1 million men, imagine if there's 10 million men. Yeah. 10 million men in an organization, right? So, yeah, we're looking at this. We're looking at the viability of it. Is this belief system that MGTOW has as the foundation, is it supported by men's thinking? The answer is yes. Can men join this and do so anonymously? Can they support it financially? Will it provide some benefit to them other than it's just an organization out there fighting for them? Right. So there's a lot of different things that go into this. Exactly. Right. You know, whatever it is, it has to have legal standing. It has to be real. It has to have a legal team, a media team, an administration team. Right. It has to have a support system. It has to offer a benefit to its members. You know, what kind of benefit? Right. Text materials, video materials, community meetup. What? Community meetup places, potentially. That's a potential thing. How about rallies and things like that? Now, not all men like that. Not all men need that. But there's 16 different basic personalities that human beings have. There's a percentage of those that dig that shit. Let them have it. Yeah. You know, the tough solo Batman types, the Dark Knights out there that want to kick ass MGTOW style, but they want to keep their identity hidden. We perform and we act a different way. Right? Everyone gets to do their thing, but if you support an organization that's out there in their fucking face, pushing back at this monolithic pig that is sucking the finances out of our wallet and the souls out of our hearts by fucking with us on a daily basis, Jerry. You know, is America or the men in America ready to do that? Or do they have to get pushed around some more by the government? Do they have to lose even more of their rights, right, through social norms? Now, I would love to say, you know, every guy that's a MGTOW, when you see him on the street, he's wearing a T-shirt, he's telling women to fuck themselves, right? Every time they try shaming him, he shames them back. I see more shaming from MGTOW men on other MGTOW men on YouTube than I see men on the street acting like men. Yeah. MGTOW men are more willing to attack other MGTOW than they are to go out on the street and say, hey, guess what? I'm MGTOW, and this is the way it's going to be from now on. I'm going to act like a man, and you're not going to have any choice but to deal with it on that level. There's just not that going on. There's a lot of this infighting. So, what's the solution, Jerry? Where are we going? Right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to do these interviews with you. I'm going to try and interview Sunrise Hoodie again. We were just talking when I got canned. It took me down, man. Mm-hmm. There's a guy named Fish, Entrepreneurs in Cars, I just reached out to today. I started by talking with Eli. He's the purple pill guy. He's just a regular little guy who has a lot of his own opinions. He believes he should have a relationship with a woman, but he's, is he purple pill? Is he traditional, conservative? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. But he's saying, hey, these things that we all share in common, the 90%, why not? Why can't we say we agree on these, all these complaints, 90% of them we have in common? Why should we call each other names? Women and feminism is divided and conquered us so bad that even within MGTOW, it's divided and conquered.
Agreed. A similar story to you, a guy who he calls himself a TFL, a True Force Loneliness. I don't know where that word came up, but somehow he identifies with that, and he wants to talk to me probably next week or the week afterwards. Mm-hmm. He wants to say, he just wants to say, hey, why do MGTOW so hate on TFL? And, I like that. I applaud his courage for wanting to reach out to me, because MGTOWs love to hate on. Sometimes instead of TFL, they call them incels, involuntary celibate. Like, one of the things I wanted to add to your talk, the whole thing about palatableness, right? Mm-hmm. I think we need to have better terms. We really have, feminism really won it when they say feminism is equality. We need to have some kind of catchphrase like that. Because right now, we have all these obscure terms that sound kind of dorky, like red pill, purple pill, blue pill. And then we have really mockingly insulting terms like incel, true force loneliness, that kind of white knight, cuck. I mean, simp and cuck. Yeah, I mean, they're honest terms, right? But, from a PR branding perspective, they're very bad. You don't attract men that way if you're like, yeah, you're a fucking cuck, man. Grow the fuck up. Some men, if you call me a fucking cuck, if I'm being a fucking cuck, and you call me out, I'll be like, oh shit, you're right. But not everyone wants to be like that, right? Some people need gradual kind of education or gradual experience to get to learn the truth.
Right. Right. I'm getting some feedback here, Jerry. Mm-hmm. Okay. No, you're absolutely right. What do we do? What do we do? What are we going to do as men? Are we going to continue to remain and be divided, to infight with ourselves? Or are we going to look to the next step?
Yeah.
Are we going to develop a strategy?
So I'll tell you, besides the language thing that I just talked about, another thing I've been doing personally, most of my friends are just pretty independent, pretty MGTOW, so I've been trying to just get them together. So I've had quite a few little meetups where it's like just me and a bunch of MGTOW-minded friends, and they've never met each other, but we all kind of all hang out and just do our thing. Like, it doesn't have to be anything. The thing about what society's taught men or just people in general is that, every event has to be flashy. Everything you do with your friends, with your family has to be like super cool. You can put it on Instagram and get 100 likes. Like, no, you can just like sit at a bar and talk for an hour. One time, a few of my MGTOW friends, we just like walked around a college campus and we just like went to different places and just talked. And then we like went into Target and just like, I don't know, we just walked around Target. We just talked. Like, very simple, very kind of like, I don't know, some people would describe it boring, but we just talked and bonded, just like had man time,
Right, yeah, man time. The bromance, the good times.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be something crazy, something grand.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be so memorable you should write a fucking book about it.
Yeah, exactly. Just like take little moments, right? Little ripples. Take little moments every weekend. I'm sure you can find a few men who they have, like you said, 90% of these beliefs, and just slowly build relationships. Kind of how friendships used to develop, kind of slowly do that again. Bring back that social human being that we've all kind of forgotten.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there's a big percentage of MGTOW that are introverts.
Yeah.
A lot of them are, extroverted people. They need that social interaction. I'm an introvert. I don't particularly enjoy social events, but I can deal with them. I can do them, and a lot of times I can enjoy them if it's with good people.
Yeah.
So that I think can be built. All of these things can be built, but right now men are scattered.
Yeah.
It's diaspora for masculine men. And it's men, they get competitive in nature. This is another part that's kind of a problem is we're competitive in nature. So every MGTOW content creator, right, he's competitive with the other guys, and he doesn't want to lose his ground or lose his audience. Right, so he's defensive of that, and he doesn't want to share his ideas, or he doesn't want to say, my idea is not as good as your idea. Let's go with that. That's a cooperative spirit and something that needs to be brought in. That's the maturity and the experience that needs to be brought into MGTOW and what they need to do. This name calling and that guy's a sellout, and oh my God, he left us behind. I can't believe he talked to that guy, and what a cuck. Right. Oh, he was MGTOW, but now that guy over there's got a girlfriend. What a fucking pussy. Right. Or he needs sex. Only monks are real MGTOW. None of that's true. None of that's true. Right. We're all men and we're all under attack.
Yeah.
But our response to that attack is as varied as our personalities and our experience make us. But that doesn't mean that we still don't agree on 90%. Right. The common agenda is 90%. And I want to keep coming back to that. Philosophically, MGTOW makes a fantastic argument about all the problems. What are you going to fucking do about it? What's the next step? Where's the strategy? You just want to bitch and sound like a bunch of... I had one guy, he writes me, he goes, you bitch a lot, John. You're starting to sound like a woman. He's fucking with me, And I was like, he's right. All I do is bitch about women. What am I going to do next?
Yeah.
Right? What's the fucking solution? I just sound like a whining, complaining bitch. I don't have a solution. Men are problem solvers.
Yeah.
Men find answers. Men fix shit. Right? We built a fucking civilization, and now we can't figure out how to put 10 of us in a room without arguing about who's the smartest badass.
Agreed.
So that's where we're at. We've been divided. We're even dividing ourselves now within the MGTOW community between red pill and purple, and now there's black. I'm black. Right? I'm a black MGTOW. What is that? Are you a fucking assassin? So we've got all this going on here, Jerry. My thing is, our philosophy is sound as men, recognizing and identifying these problems. We've educated very well. We've started an excellent recruiting effort, right? But ultimately, it's not about the correctness of our facts and our philosophy. It comes down to power and who has it. We're complaining that women have all the fucking power, and we're not doing anything except trying to get it back on an individual level. At the same time, the legislature and the courts are doing all they can to pick off our rights one at a time. When are we going to realize that this Leviathan is slowly strangling all of us? You can't individually get away with it because they'll tax you. They have the power of taxation. It's the most powerful, it's the most destructive and controlling power governments have, taxation. And the ability to pass laws to force you to behave the way they want. They could pass a law, Jerry, that requires you to marry women.
Russia did that. They didn't require people to marry women, but they gave some big tax incentives to marry women. So that's why the generation above me, all of the Russians married at like 20.
Right. Yeah, because men were saying, fuck it, they've had enough. Japan's having the same problem. If the problem progresses, that is men, and not just MGTOW, Jerry, all men are fucking rejecting these harlots. Government is going to have to either require men to marry them, or they're going to have to tax men more to pay for these women. Someone's got to pay for them.
Yeah.
They're not capable and willing and able to work for themselves competently, and they've proven that. They need a man, and they do. right? So if they can't get us to voluntarily hand our fucking wallet over, they'll have the government do it by legislation, by fiat. They'll have a court rule. Yep, that's right. One way or another, they're going to get us. So are we going to stand around and fight each other? Or are we going to look at developing a strategy, Jerry?
Agreed.
So, it's right now, you and I and me and everyone else in the MGTOW community, whether you love me or fucking hate me, I don't care. Think about what is the next step.
Yeah.
Who has the experience to put this fucking thing together?
Agreed.
Who has the intellect? Who has the business experience, the know-how, the political understanding? All of these things require intelligence. So it's going to have to be done, or we're going to be taken down individually. We're going to be swatted like flies.
Yeah.
So, but that's where I see this going. And I talked about that before my channel got killed. And you talked about, or I should talk about media. The media is a tool that is used against us. There needs to be a voice that is articulate, that the man is experienced, the man is intelligent, the man is even handsome. And I don't mean handsome like some movie star handsome, but a guy who has charisma and charm, handsome.
Yeah. And
if he goes on the fucking television, he can persuade these other 49 million men to agree 90% with what we're saying and start getting all men to think the way MGTOW thinks and to see the social system as a failure and feminism as a parasitic organism that is feeding off of us and destroying us. It's sickening us. It's destroying families. Not all MGTOW, not all men need families, but there's good men out there who are having families. That doesn't make them idiots. It doesn't make them cucks. Just calling a cuck and dismissing him, you just pissed away a valuable ally.
Yeah.
So we got married. So we had kids. So we wanted to try something.
Exactly.
He's probably fucking sorry.
Yeah.
On a number of levels.
Yeah. He's at home yelling at his wife every day. They get into arguments every day.
Every day he's fighting and arguing with her. I know that one pretty goddamn well, if you want to ask me.
But see, if you call him a cuck, he'll be like, well, at least it's better than hanging out with these people who are calling me a cuck. You see, that's the problem when you call him a cuck.
Right. Why do that? Why attack someone? So, there needs to be an understanding of all of these things. So the education, just becoming MGTOW, just seeing the philosophy, the problem is one thing, but learning how to address it and how to win men over to this way of thinking rather than alienating them and insulting the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who I talk to, someone who's an extremist and a smart ass hiding behind his computer screen in his mommy's basement. That guy's going to always scream cuck at me. And I'll kick your ass, John. And they'll make up all kinds of shit because they know I can't get to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And they'll never come out of the basement. They're getting off on it. And that's actually a personality type, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Those guys, you could hand them $1 million in gold and they complain it was too heavy. And then they call you a cuck for giving it to them. But that's what's going on in my world. This is what I'm developing with some very intelligent men. Now, what does an organization, Jerry, of 1 million men, what does it have that one man doesn't? It's got funding.
Yep, like exactly. It's got funding.
Right. Now, some of the guys I'm talking to are wealthy and powerful, but they've told me, I'm not going to fucking support, 175 million men in this battle against feminism with my paycheck. I can't do it. I won't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the idea is build interest. This is what I'm doing with you and with these other guys. See if the interest is there, the appetite by men to actually do something other than screaming and yelling at their computers that women suck ass, right? Are you or are you not going to take the next step is what we're asking men right now. Do you want us to develop a strategy? Will you support it? These are the questions that are being asked of men. This is what I'm asking you, and I'm asking all the men that listen to your channel. Are we going to develop a strategy? Are we going to try and defeat this enemy? Are we going to gain ground legally, socially, financially? Or are we going to stagnate and regress and start losing more and more of these battles, ultimately becoming the slaves of the state and slaves to women? Because that's where this is going. You ever see Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Yes, I have.
Okay, what happened?
The original version, by the way. I saw the original version.
Donald Sutherland, the original version.
No, the one before that. The one that was made during the McCarthy era.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Donald Sutherland was the remake, and then they remade it again, and then there was a Nicole Kidman one. So there was another one very early.
Right. MGTOW men are going to have to become chameleons. They're going to think on the inside, that fucking bitch, right? I can't believe she pulled that shit on me. But on the outside, he's got to smile at her and kiss her ass, right? Because everyone has been feminism body snatched, right? You don't know who is on your side or not, so you can't tell anybody who you are. That's what's happening to men right now. The MGTOW that won't show their face, that don't use their real name, that won't identify who they are, they won't come out and say anything except on YouTube in the comments section. Those guys are afraid of the body snatchers. They're afraid of being identified and singled out and then attacked by the enemy.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get worse, Jerry.
Yeah.
It's not illegal for me to say the things I'm saying right now, saying that, I think that 90% of women think of men in very negative terms and would have no problem, right, taking advantage of you and ultimately taking as much of your wealth and your retirement income as they could. In some countries, I think in Canada, that might be a crime now. Wow. Right? If it's a violation of human rights in Canada to not identify someone by the proper pronoun, where do you think they're fucking going with women's rights, Jerry?
Exactly. Yeah.
That screwball woman that stabbed her boyfriend, and because she had such a beautiful career ahead of her as a brain surgeon.
Oh, I remember that story. Guess
what? Apparently, she's now gone back to court, and she wants her sentence reduced. Wow. There's several MGTOW in England that are still in touch with me. Mm-hmm. All over the world, in fact, that still stay in touch with me. John, when are you coming back? John, what are you going to do next? Where are we going with this? And I keep saying, hang on. We're developing this. I'm going to be talking with MGTOW content producers while we still have a voice on YouTube. Now, here's the catch, Jerry. What happens if YouTube kills every single MGTOW channel? I hear crickets.
Yeah, I know. It's because it's a question I don't think any of us have thought about deeply. I mean, if you're asking for my gut feeling, this is completely not thought out, is that, well, of course, the first thing would be to try to migrate to other platforms, but what if all the platforms try to kill you, right? So what if Twitter tries to kill you? What if Facebook tries to kill you?
Let's start with your move number one. Move number one, go to another platform. There's 10 platforms. You have now divided men's attention
10 different platforms, I see, yeah.
And then on each of those platforms, there's going to be a greater and lesser level of persecution again.
Yeah.
Right. What if Google/YouTube knows that you're MGTOW, they track where you've been site-wise, and they've identified you as a human, and they can dox you to feminist groups? Have you thought about that? If you got an email from Google or YouTube that said, we know you're MGTOW, what would you do, man? You'd shit your pants. You're like, how the fuck did these people do this? Why did they do this? What's their plan, right?
Yeah.
They can scare men back into their turtle shells.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's what I see coming, man. I see men being harassed and terrorized by these fucking people. Susan Wojcicki, or whatever her name is, the CEO of YouTube, she has no problem destroying every channel she doesn't like. What does she care?
Yeah.
She's still going to make her paycheck.
Yeah.
Her mortgage payment's going to be made. She's got no problems. But anyway, so if they kill all the MGTOW channels, how are we going to educate and recruit other men, Jerry, to think of the 90% of things that all men agree on? Our voice is totally silenced. If there's an organization that is one of these monolithic pyramids these unmovable fucking objects out there. What do you think it's going to be? It's going to have a website. It's going to have the funds because all these men are going to support it. It'll have the funds to be able to continue the education and recruiting. Now, what do you think? What's one of the complaints that men have? Man, I have to get my red pill every day, right? I need some rage. Right? If YouTube is gone, where are they going to get that?
Yeah.
Right? How many men decide, I've had it with women, and then they go into psychological withdrawals of attention from men? And I'm going to refer to Chris Cantu's video where he broke down and cried like 6 or 7 times. He was choking on this psychological trauma. It was shocking to watch. But he kept saying, I just want a woman to like me. And then he'd straighten the fuck up and man up. And then he'd break down again and again. What he needed at that moment that would have benefited him? How about a counselor on the phone who understands what he's going through and can help him, and especially help him avoid suicidal thoughts?
Yeah. Or 3 friends take them out, they go horseback riding, and then they shoot some guns, and then they whitewater raft. Get the exercise hormones in, do something cool. That usually helps. That seriously helps.
Live the beer commercial, right?
Yeah, that really helps.
Well, here's what I'm just talking about. How about a therapeutic system to help men get through their red pill rage and not just be stuck in that? Not stagnate in the need for red pill rage. It needs to be a psychologically approved program to help men unindoctrinate themselves to this feminist horse shit that they've been force-fed their entire lives.
Yeah.
That can be developed with a large organization that can continue to supply the other things that men need, whatever their psychological needs are. If they kill MGTOW on YouTube, there goes all of that, all of the variety of ways that we've explained all this shit. When they killed me, they took me off. That was it. Except I contacted a guy, and several people did it on their own, who scraped everything. Zeitgeist Eater scraped everything. And it's out on a server right now, and it can go out in torrent. He's developing all of that. Mm-hmm. The idea is not to lose the information, Jerry.
Yeah.
Additionally, if men can't get to it, if they control social media, feminism does, right? There's no one attacking feminism at large, right? You're screaming from your studio. I'm screaming from my fifth wheel. We're all screaming, and no one gives a fuck that we're screaming because we're not unified. We don't have a voice. You got 10,000 guys. You got 5,000 subscribers. Who cares who you guys are? You're nobodies.
Yeah.
But if there was an organization that had 1 million men, 5 million men, and it stood up and said, we're going to come on TV because they have a media team that knows how the system works, and we'll get them in front of a camera, and they will articulate and use their charm and charisma to speak to men and speak to the problem and then speak to the solution. They can't ignore that.
Yeah.
And when men hear it, right, they will come. But right now, we're a room full of cats.
Yeah.
Right now, most men, because they're afraid to say they're MGTOW, they're afraid to say anything to a woman in public. They're just scared to death they're going to lose their job or get their ass kicked or thrown in prison. Right? Men are more like cockroaches than women. The light comes on and they scatter. Don't look at me. Don't identify me. Right?
Yeah.
I felt it was important, Jerry, for me to show my face. Right. And you did too, and other guys. It is important to say, for some of us to step out and say, it's okay to be a man. I have the penis, right? I'm a man. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not going to apologize for being a man.
Yeah. And I'm not going to apologize for trying to figure out my role as a man in my own way. Not what my friend tells me, not what society tells me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to figure out my hormones and my genetic makeup and my epigenetics. I'm going to figure it all, these neural connections. I'm going to build them my own way.
Right.
That's my definition of MGTOW.
Right. But what's stopping other men from doing that?
Yeah. In fact, think about this. If you want to talk about language change, all men are MGTOW. Seriously, all men are MGTOW. Every man, even if he chooses to go get married, he's doing his own thing, right? Every man has a different life. All men are MGTOW.
Well, they can be.
Yeah, all men are MGTOW.
Until a woman is making your decisions for you.
Yeah.
When you're not making your own decisions, and let me say it this way, you are correct, but once you are coerced, manipulated, when peer pressure is brought to bear on you, the worst kinds of peer pressure, from your friends, your family, your coworkers, when they bring that peer pressure to bear, right, they guilt you, they shame you.
Yeah.
And so now you're no longer being your own man. Now you're not going your own way. You're going the way they want you to go.
Exactly.
So it's okay for MGTOW to be monks. It's okay for MGTOW to date. It's okay for MGTOW to just be red pill, right? To chase women and let them go, catch and release. It's all MGTOW because they're going their own way. But when a woman starts making your decision for you, or society is making a decision for you, or feminism is making your decision for you because it's influenced society, influenced the courts, influenced the professional arena to where you have no choice but to select one of the feminist ways to go, you're no longer being your own man and going your own way.
Yep. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
We expand MGTOW, we expand the inclusiveness.
Yes.
And it's not, there's no reason not to. The definition of MGTOW does take more people in. And yes. I have to apologize then. If I'm going to adopt this, I have to apologize for going after PUAs too much. I mean, I love attacking PUAs. But there are some PUAs who aren't pussy begging. They really just, they live their own life and then they don't chase women. They just once in a while use tactics to get women. But there are some like that. I always lump them as pussy chasers because the majority of them, in my experience, are. But and I'll do my part. I'll be more inclusive.
Right. Well, if Ronald Reagan was a great president, whether you like his politics or not, he was really good. He was a big idea kind of guy.
Yeah,
he was
exactly.
a big tent guy. He wanted a platform that would allow the most people in to support it.
Yeah.
And get the most work done.
Yeah.
So the idea that we have is introduce the concept of you guys, every one of us, me included, being able to run around and be the man we want to be, but also support an organization that is going to do a lot more, right, than we can do individually. Take individual action where we can, but let an organization that represents the true power of collective men and go after these bitches on a national level, right? Go after them. And again, how about landmark legal cases? Hiring an attorney that's going to cost $500,000 a year. How is an individual man going to fight that battle against feminism? He can't. But collectively, men can by hiring an attorney to fight a battle, to win a landmark legal case that stops feminism in its tracks. How about a political action committee that lobbies congressmen on behalf of men's needs? Right? The 90% we agree with? Hey, there it goes. Right? There's all these men out here right now that are in the middle of a divorce and no one is supporting them. There's no help for them. They're just fucking hung out to dry. I was one of them. Hung out to dry. I turned around, there's no one supporting me, no one behind me. What I was going through is what thousands of men go through individually every single day.
Yeah.
Jerry, and they're just getting fucking killed.
Yeah.
A political action committee can address those problems on the legislative level. That takes a lot of power. They need popular support through the number of men supporting the group, and then they need financial backing because money makes the world go round. These women have figured out how to get money out of your pocket, my pocket, and then pay their political action committee to go to Washington to fuck us over even more. That's where we're at right now. We're losing that legal game and that financial game, right? We're in regression when comparing ourselves as a group of men. And the more men fall, even MGTOW, as I said, isn't going to be able to hide because they'll pass more laws and they'll force us to play their game because you can't hide from the law. You can't hide from taxes.
Yeah. Why don't we do this, John? We've diagnosed the problem really well. Why don't we bring in some actionable metrics that we can measure sort of what we do these next few weeks, these next few months, because, to get to the point of packs and to get to the point of organizations, there's many steps in between. So I want to think about ways we can, I'm a numbers focused person. What do we do numbers wise? And I'm just going to spitball to you. Me personally, I will get back on. There was this MGTOW.co or something. There was some MGTOW group, and like all the MGTOW were on there, but I just stopped going on there because, again, it was just people complaining. No one tried to say, hey, let's meet up. I'll go on there and I'll at least say, hey, anyone want to meet up with me in LA? So I'll do that. That'll be one metric. I'll make one post on there. There's the MGTOW subreddit. I'll make one post on there. So those are 2 posts I'm going to make. I will plan 2 events with just my MGTOW friends. So I'll have 2 events this month, and then I'll make 2 posts. So those are my actionable metrics for this month. And I can do more, but I'm just spitballing because I'm trying to focus this so the lofty goal doesn't get lost. We can slowly build our way up there.
It needs to be, and that's what the team is saying. I'll just call them the team, the group, the men. It needs to come. The support and growth needs to come out of the grassroots. It can't be seeded with $500,000 and then try and get men to join it.
Yeah.
Men need to make this happen.
Yeah.
And the money will come with that. The power will come with that. The recognition will come with that.
Yeah.
But individually, you and I, how do we do something? The steps I'm taking is talking to you. Then I'm going to try and talk to Sunrise Hoodie. Then I'm going to try and talk to entrepreneurs in cars.
So let's lay out your actionable metrics. How many creators are you going to talk to total this month?
As many answer my fucking email.
So how about this? No. Look, John, there's a method to this, okay? Just because this is the industry I'm in. How many outreach emails are you going to send? How many do you expect to reply to you? And then how many do you expect? So I'm trying to measure conversion. Like, are you going to send 100 emails? Do you expect to get 10 back and then schedule 2 talks? Like, these are ways we can quantify what we're doing. So people, the worst that could happen, people listen to this talk and they're like, okay, I'll do something. And then tomorrow they wake up, they're like, I don't know what to do. So give some numerical things, quantity things to measure.
Right now, here's what I'm doing. I'm introducing the idea. I'm going to talk to the people I have in front of me. And then I expect men to think about it. I don't want them to just believe me, but rationally think about it.
So let's back up. How many people are you going to talk that list? Can you give a number out? How many people are you going to talk to?
I'm going to try and do 6 interviews before the end of the month.
Okay.
That would be good. I work 16 to 18 hours a day in my jobs. And I work 6 days a week. Setting time aside tonight was great. It worked out perfect. We scheduled this through the middle of the week. It was perfect. Some days it's like, wow, man, I got 6 hours to myself. It's great. I gotta go take a fucking nap. Right?
Okay.
It's tough. To say I'm going to do 6, I'm going to schedule and arrange 6 interviews this month, to me, sounds like a goal that I'm going to have a hard time reaching.
No, I totally understand you. So what I'll do is I will increase my outreach. What I'll do is not just the 2 posts. I'll make 4 other posts. So people have added me to a bunch of Facebook groups, right? I'll make posts on each one of them. So I'll make 4 Facebook posts. So I'll make 6 posts total.
The concept of reaching out to Eli and doing the very first interview with Eli, Coach Eli there. The reason a lot of people lampooned me, they got pissed off. You're a pariah, you're this and that, you're a turncoat, you're all these things. Hey, Eli, everyone makes fun of that fucking guy, or a lot of people do, and he doesn't give a shit because he's his own man. And I said, this is what we expect of you, Eli. We expect you to work hard on this and to network and to tell other people that they need to talk to me and they need to listen to what I have to say, and then let them decide at that point, after hearing what I have to say, if the idea I have, the concept of developing a strategy to defeat the enemy, if that is palatable, right, then they can decide, but they need to hear the message first. So I need to interview and talk with as many MGTOW guys as possible, and then let their subscribers make the decision. And they can create a groundswell of support because they all know each other and they listen to other channels. And this isn't just John. This is there's a group of men, a bunch of men that are interested in doing this. And the more people I talk to, the more people are interested in the way this could go. It is building an excitement underneath, but it's going to take these public interviews on YouTube. And I tell you, man, I'm praying that YouTube doesn't just kill all of them in like a week.
Yeah, I know.
And
I know
just
what you
shut
mean.
us the fuck up. That would be terrible.
So why don't we do this then? I'm just spitballing numbers, but let's set little goals for how many people we want to reach per month. So let's say, assuming this interview reaches all 10,000 of my subscribers, right? So, and let's say you do all 6 of your interviews, and then let's say I make my post. I'm trying to get people to, meet me in LA or whatever. I'm trying to just pass this along. Is it realistic, let's say at the end of December, that we can set a goal to reach 200,000 people?
That'd be excellent.
Okay, so that's our goal for. Again, I know it's a little tough to measure this because again we can't really track. I mean, we can. I'll have to do some thinking. This is stuff I do every day. But like, let's just put a goal like we reach 200,000 people by the end of this month. My pen's going out. And then maybe let's say at the end of January, let's try to reach 500,000 people total or something like that. So let's set these goals. You see what I'm doing? I'm trying to quantify it. So that way we're not just talking with words that we think we know what we mean, but we have to have metrics that we can measure so we know that we're doing something and we're doing it efficiently and successfully.
Here's what I'm going to tell you we're going to do. Okay. We're going to build this, this support, this exponentially growing support. The idea is that when it reaches a level of maturity, a level of readiness, then the organization needs to be announced. Right? There's a complete organogram on how this is going to work, if it's going to work. But it has to be supported at the ground level, the grassroots level. It has to grow. It has to be supported. And at some point, right, it's got to come out publicly and say, here I am. This is the organization. At that point, right, it starts behaving in a different way. So we're a long way from that. I see us literally, Jerry, is months away. It could be faster. It could take longer. I don't want to see the idea or the concept of men actually fighting back die on the vine because all MGTOW channels get killed in 6 or 8 months. Yeah,
that's when we have to act fast. And part of what I'm trying to do, quantifying these metrics, is it'll help keep. I don't know. Maybe my personality is different, but this will help keep me in line. I'm like, did I reach out to 6 yet? These are goals, right? These are number target goals.
Right. Yeah. But if we got 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, or maybe the end of 2018 will be the end of YouTube and MGTOW. There is a window of opportunity that men have right now to use this social network, YouTube, to provide it with its Goliath to battle feminism. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck down on the ninja level, individually trying to fight and claw for our lives and get away from this thing that you're not going to be able to get away from. It'll chase you to the water's edge, and then it'll rob you blind. It'll rob you financially. It'll rob you. It'll take away your pride. It'll take away your self-esteem. It'll take away your individuality. Feminism will. It'll break you. That's what it wants to do. But if we don't take this opportunity now, and I've watched this fucking window appear, this slight window, as MGTOW has grown, and I've watched YouTube begin censoring and then taking channels offline, Jerry. Oh, did I lose you, buddy?
No, I'm here. Okay.
Look,
John, I'm being honest. You're kind of repeating yourself. Like everyone that's watching has heard what you said like 3 or 4 times. Okay. So I'm just trying to move this forward because we can talk about the emotions of this. We all see the urgency, but I'm just thinking about how to move this forward, right? I see that we need to act, but we can't just talk about we're about to get killed. That's why I'm talking about these metrics right here.
Right. Okay.
Like that's what I'm talking about. These metrics right here. Yeah. Like, I get it. I'm just spitballing, but we have to come up with concrete plans right now.
I expect you to edit and clean this part up.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. The idea is everyone individually needs to think about it. Everyone individually needs to start taking some form of action.
Yeah. And
Now,
what I recommend you do is when you
Mm-hmm.
talk to Sunrise Hoodie and everyone, talk about metrics too. These metrics that we laid out, can we reach 200,000 people by the end? You know, this is by the end of this month. These are things we need to come to a consensus on if we want to really do this. Because I'll be honest, I've sat not in this kind of social, but I've sat in business meetings where people wanted to recruit me to help them, and they're throwing these great ideas. But I asked them, "What are your goals? What are your targets? What are your metrics?" They don't have any. And
all right, well, let me tell you at this point here. Let me just tell you what my metrics are. I want to talk to six men this month, and I want to talk to or interview with 6 to 12 in January. By the end of February, I'm going to want every MGTOW in the network on YouTube to have at least heard of this idea. Every single last one of them should, by exponential growth and word of mouth and personal effort on every man's part, after he's thought about it and decided this is a good idea, every MGTOW by the end of March should have heard about this idea. Every man should realize that there's a limited opportunity to get this done, or forever hold your peace, it's dead.
okay,
That's my idea. And then at the end of March, we take that next step, Jerry.
I see. So
It's ambitious on the one hand, but if it's a good idea, if it's philosophically sound, it'll have legs.
yeah, I agree. And I'm just going to give a estimate, quantify for what you mean by every channel. I'm going to say that's about 1,000. There's probably 1,000 MGTOW channels worth reaching out to. So I'll put that as 1,000 for March.
As far as people like taking this interview, MGTOW channel creators, take your interview, put it on their channel. Whether they've got 500 subscribers or 50 subscribers or 5,000 does not matter. If they found this information valuable and they see the concept, then they can do their part to spread that way as well. Now that's going to take you giving permission to some degree, right? But is it that valuable? Is it that? Can you, if you want it to happen, there's got to be some work, some interaction, some cooperation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not gonna be able to talk to 1,000 channel creators. Right? It's too hard for me to talk to 50 people at one time.
Yeah.
I can talk to 5,000 or 50,000, and then they can all get some legwork done, and everyone gets to carry the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to be the only guy that carries the ball, Jerry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do men want it or not?
Yeah.
And I know I can get a little repetitive and a little redundant.
No, it's fine. We've laid out this ball that's going to come to potentially crush men in the future. And so what I think about, okay, how do we step by step move there, right? That's what I'm trained to do. My company, that's what I do. Okay, what are your metrics? What are your whatever? And then did you meet them, etc. OKR, objective key results. That's what my company talks about. And that's just how I think. And I know I think differently than some people, but you can't get somewhere unless you have OKR, objective key results, because then you know, okay, what are the numbers you're measuring yourself against?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We all have our strengths as men. We all have our intellect. We all have our individual way of processing information and getting and accomplishing the goal, achieving it. So what you're talking about is going to be critical. But men with foresight to see what's coming, it's going to be critical for them to see what's coming and have a plan laid out ahead of time, and then followed up by someone who says, and how do we get there? What are the steps we need to take? Line it out.
Yeah.
There's going to be an incredible amount of legwork done on this by men using their individual talents, and it's going to be amazing if they want it.
Yeah, exactly.
So there it is, man. That's what we've got that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's a big tent idea. You just got to remember that. If we make it palatable for many men will support it and join it.
Well,
And the guys, and I want to talk about the negative guys. They're the loudest. They scream the loudest. They call people the worst names. They represent a very small fraction of MGTOW thinking.
Yeah.
They're just the loudest, and they use their voices, much like women use their voices. They shame other men into not participating, into being quiet, into not sharing their ideas. They use guilt and shame by calling other people names, and that's not going to be beneficial to us.
Yeah.
So that's something we need to look at. We need to understand the enemy within as well as the enemy without, and we need to be able to sit down and lay out these time frames, the actionable metrics, and have it work, and ignore those and cast them aside. If they don't want to participate, then they are no longer helping. They become part of the problem, because their efforts are only helping feminism, helping women. So anyways, it's a complex topic. It can't be just discussed in one sit down.
I agree. We need to just continue texting back and forth, and we need to email, and we could privately call and stuff, because I've got people that I'm thinking about I can talk to, but then I would want to get your opinion on them too. So it's like these are stuff we can talk about privately later. But absolutely, I will, if you don't mind me texting you once in a while, I will totally communicate with you more privately. And
yeah, that works. Text, email, you got my email.
Yeah.
Understanding that I deal with a couple hundred people a day, it's kind of rough.
Yeah.
So you've been very good about it, Jerry. So that's why I reached out to you again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I work a very busy job too, so I understand. We all, we're all busy. We're scrapping by to try to make it in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but yeah, let's why don't we do this? Let's continue communicating. When you communicate with the other people, let me know. I'll make a video too to tell my audience to look out for those videos whenever they come up, and we'll just I will stick to my metrics. Keep thinking metrics. I love your foresight, by the way. I love your foresight. Keep having the foresight, but think metrics too. So when you communicate with other people, we have exact OKR. Like, remember that term for life, objective key results. We have OKR to talk about. So at least numbers wise, we're on the same page, because emotionally we can talk on the same page, but how do we measure how to take these emotions?
Yeah. How do we quantify it, and how do we decide if the action we've taken is appropriate? Can we modify it, improve it? Yeah. I'm with you all the way on that. Mm-hmm. But this all needs to be developed and worked out.
Yeah. And
if I could do this all by myself unilaterally, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Exactly. I totally understand. So, on my part, I will, I'm in on this. Just so you know, I will, whenever time, I will make time. I'll just be a little more inclusive. I'm guilty of that. I apologize I'll be a little more inclusive, and I will just do my best. We will get these metrics going.
Yeah, well, there's, in a lot of ways, there's no real reason to apologize. We just are who we are. But when we see a bigger picture, right, you've broadened your horizon.
Yeah. And
now, what do you do with that information, right? What's the strategy that develops out of this, followed by the objective key results you want, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but until you see this bigger picture, if you've got blinders on, you can't see much. You take those fucking blinders off. That's what happened when men become MGTOW. They're like, holy shit, look at all of this. It's before me. I see it all now. I understand the system. Well, now what? Well, now we need to take some action.
Yeah.
And then what form does that take? And so we've got to develop and build this as we expand people's awareness of this concept.
Absolutely.
So anyways, I appreciate the interview, Jerry. I appreciate you talking to me. Other MGTOW content creators, I want them to find a way to get a hold of me. Either it's through you or other content creators. I will do this interview with everybody, and I want to reach every MGTOW by the end of March. Mm-hmm. And then they can decide. And if 50% of them come along and say, let's do it, let's kick some ass, right? We can agree 90% on all the things wrong with women and feminism, so let's do something about it. That's a lot of men. That's a lot of power.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, people, we do have a lot of power collectively on our hands. And this is what John, he laid out perfectly. I hate to use this word, but we have to organize. We really have to organize, or else they're going to take us out individually.
Right.
Yeah.
They will ultimately get to us if we don't do something. So
Yeah.
But on the individual level, we are extremely powerful and we can fight like fucking ninjas.
Yeah, exactly.
But they do have the power of government, social behind them, media behind them, legal behind them. We got to do something, or they're gonna hammer us.
Yeah.
And I just look at Canada and the UK and go, Jesus, they're getting slaughtered.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jerry, it was really great talking to you again. And I'm sorry I lost my channel, but I can work through you other creators to see if we can get this ball rolling in that direction again.
Absolutely. So for those of you watching, this was Big John, aka MGTOW is Freedom, and I'm sure we will have a lot more conversations.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope this concept is adopted and accepted.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to sign off. We can continue talking afterwards. But for those of you watching, thank you. Leave a comment, press like, share this everywhere. You can put this on your channel if you want to. You know, this is two men talking. You know, we had our disagreements, but look, we still had a consensus. We had a next step, right? Nobody's holding grudges. John's not mad at me. I'm not mad at him. We had a disagreement, but we worked it out. You see, this is how mature men do it.
Right. Yeah.
So I hope if you got anything out of it, just get that out of that too, you know?
Yeah. No, it's we can't agree 100%, but 90% of the way, man, that's a lot of common ground to be standing on. That's a big fucking tent.
Exactly. Okay, everyone, I'm going to tune off now. Just, you know what to do.